This is AI Marketing Experts, where bold marketers and next-gen AI collide. Each week, join us as we decode trends, test tools, and share real wins from the AI-powered front lines. No fluff, no hype, just straight talk and smarter marketing. Tap subscribe, and let's geek out on AI.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Brad Kilgore here with the next episode of AI Marketing Experts. And we're really glad to be sharing cool stuff with you on a Friday. We hope that what we've shared in the last several weeks, we've got many episodes now, has been informative and helpful, and that you're learning new stuff because, you know, as everybody knows, the AI space is changing so rapidly. So feel free to subscribe to our channel and share it and like our stuff and watch it, you know, learn from what we share. So hopefully it will help you in your business. So with that, we're going to go ahead and kick it off. And who would like to kind of kick off what we're going to discuss today? Anybody in particular?
I'll go ahead and jump in. I'm Laura with Activation, and we're going to talk about how AI is changing marketing roles. And we know that our listeners are coming to us with many different business sizes. So we want to provide some nuggets from the larger companies as well as the do-it-yourselfers and those medium size that may or may not have in-house assistants. So we're going to talk here as a group as to what we're seeing with the changes of how AI is bringing those tools closer to home that you don't always have to hire out as much as we may have, or you're able to really work in a better partnership with the agencies you have so that you're able to collaborate, move forward faster. So we're really seeing how AI is providing strength in getting the marketing messages out. And I know a few weeks ago, we talked about branding. This again echoes that importance so that as your brand is rooted, you know exactly what your brand voice is, you know what your personal voice is. You can go ahead and share that information now with either your internal team, or you can have it close that you can use it when you're using AI tools, or you can provide it to your partner, an outside agency, for them to use. And again, that just solidifies and amplifies your voice as it's going out and being searched, whether it be ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, any of these. It's being picked up in addition to Google and the traditional search engines.
Brilliant. And I think it also keeps your brand consistency. One thing we always talk about as well is there's a lot of ads out there that the ad kind of looks and sounds one way. The website looks and sounds another way. The social media posts look and sound another way. And it's because there's different hands, bakers in the kitchen or whatever that phrase is supposed to be. And it all just comes out as a jumble. But if everybody is got the same, like a big company will have somebody who's created a brand voice guide and all of those kind of stuff. Small companies don't normally have that. It's like, it might have been Susan at the front counter and the front desk, and Susan left and Nancy showed up, and Nancy does things entirely differently. And now everything sounds different again. And, your customers go, oh, I noticed there must have been a difference and all, but you want that consistency in the marketplace. And the one cool thing about AI is, again, as a company, a DIYer, you can really dial that in, make it a standard that hands around, or you work with an agency that understands what that means and they provide it and give it back to you and say, hey, when you're doing your own stuff here, we've done this for you, use this. So.
100%. And that's the thing, keeping everything consistent over time can be challenging because a lot of companies, like John mentioned, haven't really defined their brand voice. They haven't really defined what their color scheme is or what is their message, what is the uniformity of it all, whether it's print material, whether it's social media, whether it's video, it can be so jumbled up. And so whether you, like Laura shared, whether you're working closely with an expert agency, like somebody, one of us on the call or something like that, they're going to need collateral from you in a lot of cases. I mean, certainly we can create it for you, but it's important that, as a business owner, you're collaborating with your people, whether it's an agency or somebody internally at your office, to make it all look and feel like you have some semblance of order. Because otherwise, if you're talking to Nancy and Susan, and then you got Betty coming in next month as your new secretary, and it's completely different, then your customers notice that, like, oh my gosh, I thought I was working with XYZ company. Now I think I'm working with Triple Z company. I can't even tell, so they get confused.
Yeah. I was talking with a client the other day, and they've been in business over 20 years. And the person I was talking to was saying that they don't have like their differentiators, like actually written out or anything. And so he's tried, talking to the higher ups to kind of get that information, and honestly, they don't have it either. And so it's like, they know that they're good at what they do, but they have so much in their head. It's not like out of their head, that they're unable to use it for AI or for their team or, anything like that. And that's definitely something that, if remedied, it sure does make marketing a lot easier. I mean, I hate to say easier, but a lot more effective.
That's a great one. I just want to jump into that. So then Jen, in her brilliance, would go back to that person and say, do you want to be the superstar employee of your company? Go into ChatGPT, tell it your problem, crit, context, role, interview me, task. How do I interview the founder of the company, the owners and stuff like that? What questions should I ask so that we can create answers to those questions that eventually will turn into a unique sales proposition, compelling sales proposition, and, brand snippet and blah, 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 dossier and options that I can now present back to the company and say, which ones of these do you like? Almost like choosing your core values. It's real, It's personal, it means something. It's not just a mission statement. But can we dial that in? And now this employee, instead of going, oh, well, I'm not doing that, it's going to take me 6 months. It's like, no, it'll take you like a couple hours on Sunday afternoon at the most, right? Create the questions, take it to the higher ups, ask them those questions, interview them with ChatGPT, or send them a GPT to interview them that way. And there's a million ways you can do this. And now you look like an amazing superstar employee as well. And then you get it to do deep research and spit out a 20-page or a 10-page report, and you have a board meeting, you talk about it, and next thing you know, you get a raise.
That's what we're all hoping for, right? And that's what I was thinking, is we forget, again, we're carrying our mobile devices. Once we have one of these on our phones, sometimes just stepping away from the office, taking that walk, having an interview, you back and forth, it'll have a conversation. And sometimes it flows better if you're able just to talk it out by yourself with this, the AI just asking you those questions. It does get those juices flowing. You start really, the creative juices just seem to come, and you're able to talk through things that you may not have known were gaps in your brand, gaps in that brand messaging, and being able to have that conversation, record it. As you said, you're able to then export it right into a Google Doc, share it with others, have them get their input. You can have many uppers, or say your partnerships, anybody of your board of directors interviewed as well, collaboration, pull those together, and then let AI tell you what it feels your brand is. And you can make the adjustments from there. So again, it's just not one person. Because like you said, when we've got Susan and Betsy and all these different people coming in at the front desk, if you're able to provide them something that's consistent, it really has your brand being that much more effective, as Jen was saying.
Yeah. So we're today talking about shifting roles with AI, shifting roles in marketing with AI. And so what I'm hearing so far is that there's a lot of things that that people can do in small businesses, or employees with small businesses, that doesn't have to be super small, but they can be using AI to do their part a lot more effectively than maybe they could before.
Yes. And I think the other thing that we forget is, if we could just go back a few years, some of the small to medium sized business might say, we don't have that role on our team because we can't hire, or we're not to the point of hiring. Now, if they're training an AI agent or using AI, they can effectively have someone in that role, or at least someone that can act like that role with a crit. And you would be able to not have that full-time employee yet until you're ready.
Right. Well, a lot of times, you may have an agency that handles some of the bigger things that you wouldn't handle internally, like getting your website working correctly and optimized for Google search and paid ads or whatever you're doing. And that agency may not be managing your social media, or maybe they're not creating, doing things with images or videos or content, or maybe the agency you're working with needs some of those pieces. And so now, you want to really get clear on what your brand is, and you can use AI to define that, and get things in place, SOPs and different things, so that if somebody else does start working for your company, that they would know the model and the system that you're trying to replicate based on what your company's about. But nowadays, if you are managing internally your social, because a lot of times managing social media internally, I think, is really a big deal. Not to say an agency can't do it, because we do it for clients, but so many times if you have somebody on the ground, in the office, in the shop, whatever it is, that's taking photos, taking videos, and then posting it out, now you can simplify that and really have your time for your person to do that because of AI, so that you're really showing real life current events on your social, whether you just had an open house at your place, or whether you just sponsored the baseball team, or you just had this amazing customer situation and you want to do a video about it. Those are the things that now you can easily schedule those things. You can easily get a description now, or some sort of a post written with AI about what you just did, and not try to figure it out yourself, because a lot of people just aren't good writers. But if you use something like ChatGPT or something and say, create 10 long form social media posts about this event, or even put a link to a blog post or something that you made, it can then create compelling content for the next week or whatever it is about this story, or about this success, or about whatever it is that's happening in your business. Because again, even though agencies can manage all these things, a lot of times we're reliant on content or ideas from the business owner of what's really happening there. There's different things you can do with your images. If they're not perfect, you can clean them up with AI. Same with videos. You can stitch videos together and make some pretty cool stuff using the AI tools. And so it's just rapidly changing of what you can really do. And, before, it almost seemed like, if you had somebody working in your office, it was like, well, we don't have time to do social media, we're so busy. But now, if you're streamlining your phone calls with AI, you're streamlining some of your systems in-house with AI, with custom GPTs or whatever it is that's helping you save time. Now, maybe the person that's working for you has more time to manage these things, A, but B, they can also speed that whole process up because of the systems using AI.
Yeah, and I want to tie into that because I do run into small business owners, especially in the cleaning world, that the other side of that, they get so ingrained in doing it all themselves that they spend most of their time basically becoming a marketing agency, and they becoming a systems operator and all that kind of stuff. And their fastest path to cash actually delays because they decide to sit in front of a computer instead of getting out in front of customers. Again, know your own industry, but what is the things you should be doing that you always should have been doing? That's the old school grassroots, join the chamber, meet the people, all that kind of stuff. Use AI to enhance that, make that better. One example of that would be use AI to write better scripts. If you don't have phone scripts on how you answer the phone, how you persuade somebody why your price is higher. Again, we talked about brand, like maybe, you're a premium provider, but you've got to be able to get over that commoditization trap and stuff like that. Write those scripts. Hire an agency when you're running 3-4 vans on the road. You've got the agency there. Is your agency taking all of those phone call transcripts, running them through a sales agent, and finding out which one of your gals on the phone or which one of your messagings is actually working better, who's falling off script, things like that. You can now get little dongles that hang on you when your in-home sales guys go into the homes. It records it, and then on their drive to the next job, it can actually help improve their skills. Well, that's now where a growth partner, an agency shouldn't just be a tasker. A growth partner is going, hey, you're at that level. You're ready for this kind of stuff now. Let's upgrade the skills of your team. So you don't have to know it all. Showing up on shows like this is helpful, but make sure you're always focusing on the nearest path to cash. But when you do need help on that really low end DIY, get over the hump, to pull up your, bootstrapping it, do what you can, then get out the door. Write a better sales letter, print it off, and go show up at the front door of the office and say, hey, I'd like to tell you about my services, and I'd like to leave this little package of information behind. Don't just sit behind an email, as an example. Still do the job that you're supposed to do to grow. But then as you grow, you're going to have some in-house help. You're going to have some experts that are on top of this every single day. Or you're going to have to hire somebody full-time to stay on top of the tech every single day as well. And maybe that's a level you get to when you're 20 million, a year. But maybe when you're at the, 200,000 to 2 million a year, that's where you need to 3 million or 5 million. You need growth partners in the middle as well. They do their part. You do your part. It collabs together. And now you're integrated.
Makes perfect sense. Made me think of one thing too. I mean, there's some like AI note takers where you literally have it on your phone. So sometimes, if you're out in the field or you're in your shop or you're in your office or whatever, sometimes you can just use some of these AI tools to talk to it, tell all the things in your head, all the things that are happening. And then literally you hit a button and it summarizes it. You can then share that with your team, share that with your agency, whatever it is, because we're all so busy. And it's like, we can't necessarily always remember all the different things that we want to talk about or the great things that are happening in our company. And so you leverage those types of tools.
I know one of the common questions, and since we're talking about how it's changing marketing roles, we've highlighted many different roles in every size of business here today. And if you're asking yourself as a business owner, I don't even know where to start with marketing roles, to the point that has been mentioned is if you just, again, ask AI, tell them about your business, what size, what your goals are for the year or the quarter, however you might be sending those benchmarks. If you talk to it, it will tell you which role should be filled first and how to do the SOP for that role. So if it is a team member that you see, they're doing TikTok, they're doing videos on their own, ask them to step up. See, again, it might be one of those things that you give them a little bonus for the ones that they complete. They may be just willing to do it because they are a natural at it, but use AI to kind of define the guardrails for that. And so they know what your expectations are, what should be mentioned in the videos, what should not be mentioned in the videos. So they have an idea. So it is handed over to them and you're not having that burden on your, holding onto it so tight that another video did not get done this week. Because again, you had a team member that you could have, just asked ChatGPT, can you define this role? How will it be used in marketing? And then they know what the results, what your expectations are and how it will be used for social media. Then it can roll into maybe that marketer that does your social media, another team member, again, use an SOP, define what your social media manager role would be for marketing, have it all laid out. They'll feel very comfortable about posting what your expectations are, how many times a week. So AI can really assist, especially like Brad was saying, writing these pieces. What Jen was saying about making your branding so much stronger. What John was mentioning about how you're able to get that feedback while they're on the road. They can hear those questions when they're wearing those recording devices, and that can become your social media. So again, all these pieces won't be so overwhelming, but start with one.
Exactly.
Good advice.
Well, I know that Laura mentioned it and I mentioned it. If you aren't aware, an SOP is just something written that's a standard operating procedure. Because I know all of us need those types of things so that, again, if somebody is switching roles or if somebody was handling that task at one point and now there's somebody else is, you can say, oh yeah, here's my SOPs. This is how we do it. The other thing, a lot of times that could be used for content ideas and different things, whether it's somebody in-house, depending on which role they have. If you run out of ideas of what can we talk about, what can we make a video about, what can we make social media post about, literally with AI now, you can go and search big companies or anybody you want, let's say on YouTube, or find an article, whatever it is, and say, wow, these guys are really good at writing, or they're really good at their videos. Just take that piece of content, feed it into an AI tool and say, make me a script based on this information, make it my own based on my company. And you're like, all of a sudden you have all these new ideas. And then there's just a million different ways you can spin it from there. But you don't have to think of all the ideas anymore because AI can help you. A lot of times you're just borrowing somebody else's idea and then just repurposing it for yourself.
Or your industry.
Yeah, exactly. You go for a walk, for example. Say, for example, you want to forecast your busy season and what you need, what resources, like, hey, here's my last few years of sales numbers or whatever. Or ask me, hey, I want to forecast my busy season, make sure I have enough capacity, enough equipment, enough solution, enough technicians, whatever it is. And load that in, because again, as business owners, sometimes we get caught off guard and go, holy crap, if I'd had another van on the road, if I'd had another technician, in my cleaning world, we hit capacity and we're booking 3 weeks out, but it was actually foreshadowed. If you were doing sort of the deep work back in the day, pen and paper and late nights and all that kind of stuff, it would have been the deep work. Then you go, oh my gosh, I got to be ready for August. I got to be ready for September, October, because we're way up this year, or we've got these new referral partners or whatever. So you can identify those forecasts. You can help identify upsell opportunities. Going, my technicians, my crew are crap at getting second and third sales once we're in the home or whatever. Let's have a conversation. Like, what are things I can do? And then when you kind of flesh something out, can you give me some ideas of scripts, or give me a training idea so I can role play with the technicians? Give me a bonus idea, some bonus ideas I can think about and stuff like that. Go back and forth, and then build that again, that document, that standard operating procedure at the end of it all. And that was while walking the dog down the trail for half an hour, and you just turn chatgpt and have the conversation, right? So, and now you come back, you've got that, you put it into some documents, and that was way easier than the weeks of thought and hours of work that would have been any other way before.
Yes. It brings back the back and forth when we were writing standard operating procedures, because when we would write it, it would be different than actually what my team would understand. And then we tried to do some videos and stuff. But taking even those older SOPs and running it through, saying, wait a minute, it really filled in, and they are not a chore or as big a chore as it once was. And the members that actually have to use the SOPs, we're finding, are really excited because they too know that they can add their level of understanding or their own personalized videos and stuff to make it their own and user friendly for what they have to do day to day. But it's not as big a chore as it once was. So, Jen, what other tips do you have?
Well, all this talk about SOPs, it just made me think, there's a lot of times where an office, whether it's whatever industry, they don't necessarily have a person that kind of owns all the SOPs, except for the owner sometimes. And I don't know how you guys how you guys do SOPs, but it can be like pulling teeth to get SOPs. My team to do SOPs. And so with AI, with the ability to really make the SOPs better, but to really make it a less painful experience, I mean, that is a really big deal. And then it also makes it easier for whoever does kind of own it, whether it's the owner or someone else. It makes it a lot easier for them to be able to own it when these SOPs are done in like a unified way, I guess. So, if you don't have that role, that SOP role, that is a good one to have.
And I think too, we're talking about different size companies. Think about if you don't have, or if someone's out on maternity leave or somebody is out with an injury or something, run 2 SOPs through AI again and say, we need this marketing role to be streamlined. It's able to see where it overlaps or how it can be more efficient. So we have to remember too, that it's a blessing when we have those roles filled, but we have options now when they may not be filled. So even if you're starting narrow and slim and trim and getting it done, but you are able to hire somebody else, then you can say, can you break these 2 roles apart? So you're able to grow as you need and change.
And a lot of the LLMs are rolling out agents, right? So again, whenever you're listening to this, there's changes that happen every single day, every single week. But agents have been a thing, like there's tools like Make, Zapier, N8N. These are sort of like automation platforms that connect things together. We talked a couple episodes ago about MCP servers, which is just a standard protocol. That means that all the LLMs connect the same way to your Gmail and your calendars, and they're going to roll that out. And agents are now sort of like they're always kind of in the background, the geeky way, and they're starting to come to the foreground because they're just constantly layering new things on. And so think of dovetailing two ideas together. You've got these agents that can do multiple tasks, go out on the web, do a bunch of things for you, and that way. So very simply done in the same context we're getting used to. So once you get used to how to use, these different LLMs, and you can chat to ChatGPT or Perplexity and all these kinds of things in a native way and get the output you want and not be frustrated anymore. And that just takes a while. Once you get to learn some of those frameworks, and then you start learning a little bit about these agents, and now you have an SOP, and you go to your team and go, which one of these SOPs could we replace by an agent? So you have more time to call the customers back. You have more time to do, training with the staff. You have, on and on and on, right? So, it's not about trying to replace people necessarily. It is about taking those SOPs that you've built and then having the team help you find out which ones can actually be fully automated now, because you now have got the route that is needed by the the agent is what was the steps? What was the procedure? Yeah. And then you ask the AI, can you replace this with an agent? Sure, I can. Here you go. And off you go. And now good, better, best, you're now starting to solve problems, in an automatic way.
Well, and I think just to clarify for somebody listening, an agent isn't a human. It's an AI robot. It literally is something that you create to do a task. And so without going too deep into the weeds on this, you literally can have a board of directors or a staff of agents that are doing different things with AI. You have kind of like the leader of the agents and the supervisor or whatever it is. And then you can just have like a tree of underlings underneath that are doing these things together. It's insane how quickly this stuff is growing and changing. And it's really kind of cool to think about where this is going to be 3, 6, 9 months away from now, because it's going so fast, where this is all these things that we're discussing right now. A lot of this is going to be much more commonplace and much more normalized in the near future.
Yeah.
And I'll just provide, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to provide some of the examples. So I know we're talking business world, but sometimes if we take it back into our day-to-day things, it gives us a way to understand it as we're getting used to it. So as ChatGPT decided, they were going to combine operators and their deep thinking into their agents when they rolled it out here rather recently. Some of the examples they gave is if you were attending a wedding and you needed to have a place to stay, you needed to buy a gift. You also needed to kind of know the wedding attire, and you put their agent on it, and the agent went out and was searching and saying, here's what we recommend you purchase for your clothing to match the wedding attire. Here's where we recommend your hotels. Here's a gift based on your price range that you provided. That's what the agent did. Another example, business-wise, was having a photo of a mascot. So it was just a realistic photo of a dog. And they said, we want to go ahead and create stickers. They put their agent on it. The agent went out to find stickers and collateral or all kinds of a whole collection of pieces, brought it back, and actually had the order. Now, the one thing that we are hearing, and we will heed this as well, is because the agents will go out and they're trying to contain which websites they go to, there may not be trusted at all times. So that's the one thing that we heed, and we would highly recommend our listeners also take note. So you can, when it comes to the agents, take control again. So don't allow it to just automatically incorporate your credit card information, or feel free to question what sites that they're going out. So I just state that, make sure you take control. The button actually comes up when you're using the ChatGPT agent. take control and manually enter your credit card if it's a purchase that you're wanting to make at the end of when it brings back the results. But those are just two quick examples that I heard about that I think that people can relate of, okay, small bite size so that we can see how it can really, and I know in the next few episodes, we'll be diving in with more examples of how we're using it in our own agencies.
Yeah, there's actually a phishing risk that went out recently. So phishing just means that people are trying to steal your information. And that's a good point, because as this is a new world, we all know that scammers will find ways to run faster and ahead of. So get this one. So attackers have found ways to embed hidden commands inside emails, in spam emails, so that any Gemini summarizing tool, as an example, can create urge users into the scam, can make it sound more promising than it is because of the way they're embedding this code, can create a link they click on that then embeds trackers on their computer and all that kind of stuff, because they've right now found a way to outsmart the summaries that Gemini is providing as that one just example. So guaranteed some people will find out ways to take an agent and say, oh, buy my shoes from this, Korean store or whatever. It looks pretty, because they're able to put a code on the background that attracts the agent. So you just want to make sure, like, always do your due diligence, like you always should. There's always scams going on in every aspect of life, and every new thing creates a new scam. So yeah, don't, be smart about what you do when you do it, but definitely lean into the usage. Just be diligent.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, whether it was when the internet started or whether we started getting smartphones or whether it's AI, there's always going to be the bad players out there. So you just have to use everything with a level of caution. But I certainly wouldn't be discouraged from trying new things out. But like what was mentioned, just be cautious,
Yep.
So I think with that, guys, we might wrap for the week because we want to keep everybody's interest and make sure we're delivering good value. So follow us on YouTube, follow us on the podcast channels, check out our shorts, check out our long form stuff, share it with your friends. And just remember that we, as the AI Marketing Experts Show, are here to help you and your business and keep you up to date on what's happening in this crazy world.
Absolutely.